Hello everyone, my name is Kurazar. It is my great pleasure to invite and welcome you back at long last to the Vintage Story Guide Season 3. That's right folks, it is time once again to get into a single player world and experience everything for ourselves. By ourselves. Together. I'm not sure how that works. We are in a brand new world, but how did we get here? Well, for that, let's go back a few minutes in time. The first thing you'll see when you launch the game is the title screen right here. Now, if you're a veteran player, you probably won't need me to explain anything going into this, but for the new folks on the channel here and to the game, we have here on the left a list of menu options. We will be going into single player in a moment. This is where your local worlds that you host and that you play on your own can be found. Multiplayer is where you would go to select and join any servers you belong to. Your settings is where you can tinker with your graphic settings, your mouse settings, your controls, and yes, mine look probably very foreign because I'm a lefty with a Dvorak keyboard layout. Any accessibility options, your sound options, and any graphic user interface options. If you're playing with mods, such as this world we'll be playing in, you can manage them here. You can turn them off or on with this checkbox here. Now, if you have multiple worlds and they do not share the same mods, then every time you switch worlds, you will need to come in here and turn off the ones that don't belong in the world you're joining, and turn on the ones that you do want. This is not needed if you are playing on a server, as a server will supply all server-side mods to you, but you can still turn things on like Farseer or HUD Clock on your local machine, even if the server doesn't have them. Now we are going to go into single player here, and as you can see, we have a Guide S3 template world. This is where I did some testing, and just to be upfront, I did select a world for this playthrough. I did not just go in randomly this time, mostly because I have 2 kids now and not a whole lot of time. So I wanted to make sure I had a world that I could easily showcase all the things that I want to teach you all about Vintage Story. Now, if you are using the downloaded template world that is provided in the video description, then my recommendation is that you come in here and hit the edit button and create a new world with the seed rather than starting the world by itself. And that's because if there are any changes between when I uploaded this and when you download and play this world, you might want to have them in the initial world file. As you can see, this was created with version 1.22.0-rc.1. We're now in 122.2. Now, I don't know what changes might have been added to the game between now and then, but we're going to start a new world with this seed in the exact same manner, just to make sure that our world is as up to date as it can possibly be. And the seed, of course, is right here. You can change the name of the world or the file name if you need to, or delete if you no longer want to have a world on your machine. Let's go ahead. We're going to create a new world with this world seed. And these 5 tabs here have all of the options for generating your world. Now, we're going to leave most of these on the default settings, and I'm just going to go through the ones that we're going to change. On player spawn and death, we're leaving it alone. If you're a newer player, and you aren't used to the game at all, you might want to turn on the grace timer. This will keep the rust monsters from spawning until a set number of days, which you can pick here. If you want to play in a warmer or colder climate, you can change that here. And if you want to play in creative mode versus survival, you can change that here, but you can also change that when you are in game as well. We are going to play with drop inventory contents. I like to have a little bit of skin in the game, if you will, so we can't just die in order to teleport back to our house. Survival challenges. We're going to leave most of these the same. I'm not turning on cave-ins or extra block gravity. This just tends to complicate things, and I don't like cave-ins, and it isn't the default, so nope. We'll also leave everything here the same. We're going to come down to microblock chiseling and turn on most cubic blocks. This is purely aesthetic and doesn't really affect survival, but it will let us chisel more interesting things because we can use sand and gravel and dirt and glass and other odds and ends that are not stone, dirt, or stone bricks or wood. And because many of you tend to request it, I'm going to turn on the color accurate world map. Someday I'll play with the parchment color map, but generally speaking, my audiences have historically preferred the color accurate map. Lastly, on this page, there are decorative only clutter blocks you can obtain, but they're very, very expensive to obtain, and frankly, not worth it. The glue is very pricey, requires resin, so we're going to turn this on to yes, simply by breaking them, meaning that you don't have to glue them back together. On temporal stability, we're going to change the temporal gear respawn uses to infinite. 20 times and infinite are generally the same if you're a reasonably seasoned player, but just because I don't feel like counting, infinite it is. I am going to allow ourselves to sleep through temporal storms, mostly because as a content creator, if I'm in the middle of some big project, I don't want to have to take a forced 5 to 10 minute break to pass a storm. And I will leave the temporal storms frequency and strength the same here for the time being. As we get deeper into the series, I may reduce it at least a little bit, again, because they can get annoying more than anything. World generation, we're going to leave at all the defaults, but you can tinker with these as you will. Please note if you are using this seed and you make any changes to basically any of these few up here, you might have a few issues with experiencing the same world that we're in. You can generally safely change things like the temperature and the distance scaling on structures, the copper and tin surface deposit frequency, and so on. Those should not change your overall experience. Lastly, in multiplayer, the only one that affects single player is this one, class exclusive recipes, and we're going to turn it off. This will let us, as a blackguard, which we're going to be playing this time, it will let us craft things that the blackguard couldn't normally craft, like fancier bows, certain kinds of armor, and a few other odds and ends. Once you have your world set up as you would like it, you can hit apply, and you can give it a name. I think this one has a nice ring to it. And let's go. And when your game finishes loading, and you are first in the world, you won't see the world yet, it hasn't loaded in just at this point. You will first see the character creation screen. Now, if you have played Vintage Story on your computer before, you may see a last selection button that will let you automatically select all of the settings that you last used for your last game. I'm going to go ahead and do that, but if you want to customize your character, you can take as much time as you want here, and it will not affect the starting time of your game. You'll see the time here is locked at 8 o'clock in the morning. And before we do jump in, I do want to note, we do have some mods in this game. We are playing up here with the HUD clock mod. This just is an informational mod that shows us the temperature and the current season, the date, the time, how much wind there is, and the current rift activity. The full list is in the description below. Once you have your character model set up to your liking, you can click Confirm Skin, and here you can pick a class. There are 6 classes to choose from. There's Commoner, which is just sort of a general, they can do most everything reasonably well. There's the Hunter, who is more based on ranged combat. They are faster when walking and running, and they are good at looting animals, harvesting animals. However, they are not so good at mining, and they are somewhat less skilled at melee combat. The Malefactor is a sneak, a bit of a thief. They have enhanced stealth. They can make a sling that other classes can't. However, they are not so healthy. They have fewer health points. They're not great with ranged, including their sling, and they deal less damage in melee. The Clockmaker is a bit of a tinkerer. They are also swift like the Hunter. There are certain things in the game called translocators. They are better at repairing them, and we'll get into those eventually. They deal more damage against mechanical creatures, which are mostly locusts, and they also are able to tame certain creatures, again, types of locusts, that can act as pets. But similar to the Malefactor, they are frail and have fewer hit points and less ranged distance, and they're also weaker in melee. The Blackguard is a tough soldier type. They have a lot more melee damage. They have better armor stats and better durability. They're great at mining, they have more health, and they have exclusive craftables, if you're playing with those turned on, of a blackguard short sword and a shield. However, you will get very hungry playing as a blackguard, so if you are new to the game, I might not recommend it, because the early game might be a bit of a struggle. They're also not quite as good with ranged weapons, they deal less damage, and they're not good at looting things, including from wild crops and from harvestable objects, things like resin, which is important to note. If you're playing a blackguard, be prepared to harvest things like mushrooms and resin and get nothing in return. Lastly, we have the tailor. The tailor is kind of a support class. If you are playing on a server that has the exclusive craftables turned on, they're a great choice if you need someone to make some of the fancier mid-tier armors. They're also better with armor. They increase the armor's durability, but they get less loot from foraging. They're weaker both health-wise and at mining, and they get less animal loot. Other than that, they don't have any penalties to melee or ranged combat, though. We're going to play a blackguard. I played one a long time ago in the Rusty Gears Season 2. I've never played one in a single-player world, though. So, let's give it a shot. And now we are in the world. And as you can see, it is very windy, and we are putting our hand in front of our face. So let's get up here on top of here. We won't face into the wind. And take a look at our surroundings. If you are spawning into a world like we are, whether you are spawning into this one or a different one, you are going to want to make sure you get somewhere safe as your first priority. If you are on top of a mountain, get down. If you're in a forest, get out of the forest. If you are on an island in the middle of the ocean and you see nothing but spiky mountains, start a new world. Now, we are here in a very windy desert. It is kind of forested, but no big trees and decent visibility. So we're going to take time to move on to the second important thing, which is getting our first tools. We're going to pick up some stones here, as well as beating up some of these trees, although we don't need to worry about the birch leaves. We want to look for the ones that say branchy leaves here, because when we do that, we'll pick up sticks when we break them. You can tell that they're branchy leaves because you won't be able to walk through them, like this one right here. So we'll get a few sticks here, maybe, I don't know, 10 or so, and then we'll move on. Now, we are in an area, it's kind of lucky. We have chert here. Chert is a type of stone that, unlike some other softer stones, can be knapped. That's napping with a K, not napping with just an N. And napping is how we'll make our first tools. Let's go gather a few more. We're going to skip the limestone desert here and get a few of these. There we go. We can just be at these stones on the ground and get a few of those. So our first lesson in vintage story tool making is going to be napping. We're going to take a nappable stone. Now, that doesn't have to be chert. In fact, it generally won't be chert. You might find yourself in a biome full of granite, or basalt, or andesite, or peridotite, or you might just find other stones in the ground that include flint. All of those can be napped. And napping is where you take two stones, and you crouch and put one on the ground. And with flint, this doesn't require a second click, but with other stones it does. And you can then right-click, and you'll get a little menu of things that you can then nap. Now, flint is the only one that can be used to nap arrowheads, but everything else can do all the other tools. We're going to start with some basics. We need a knife blade. We're going to do a second one here. We're going to do a shovel head, and we're going to do an axe head. And once you have your templates down, you'll see there is a little wireframe around these, which you can adjust. If you want to change the visibility of those, you can go into your settings and accessibility and change the wireframe thickness. I think I will here, just to make it easier for you to see, because I know YouTube's compression can do funny things sometimes. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take a second stone in your hand. You're going to click along the edges of the shape that you see that does not have any wireframe voxels in it. And once you're done, you will now have a knife blade, as well as a shovel and an axe. You can go into your inventory. I believe the default key is E, but for me, it is not. And you can put the sticks and your tool heads into your crafting grid here, and you can pull a tool out. Put the tool head on top of the stick and pull out the tool, and there you go. Let's be off. Daylight is a-wasting, and there is somewhere we need to go because I have explored this world and I have identified roughly where I want to settle down. It shouldn't be too far from here, but we want to get a move on as fast as we can. Along the way, we're going to spend time picking up things like more stones, including the chert, but also flint, again, because we can't make... oh my. We can't make arrowheads with chert. And we're going to stay away from caves. Caves are bad news right now. On your travels, you're going to want to stop and mark everything that you find along the way, except things that you pick up. If you find things like berry bushes, or ruins, or... oh, that's not good. More enemies over there. Let's go this way. Or certain kinds of crops that you want to come back and check on later, you can mark them by bringing up the map, and you can zoom in, you can right-click, and we're going to say danger, because there's a cave over there that thing came out of. And there we go. Now, I'm going to maintain a walking speed. I'm not going to sprint unless we are attacked. And that is because, as a blackguard, we are very, very hungry already. And sprinting uses more of your hunger, which is the green bar down here. Once your green bar empties, if you don't have any food to fill your belly, you're going to start taking damage, and you could eventually die. There we go. I see a tree. It's always good to find. Now, I see it's a pine tree. And pine trees are important because of one particular thing they can provide, and that is they can have resin. And so before you cut down any pine trees, you always want to take a peek up the tree. If you see any golden blobs on it, don't cut that tree down, whatever you do. Bad news. This one doesn't have any, so we're going to go ahead and cut it down. And this is going to be very handy for our first night, because we're going to need some firewood for making a fire, among other things. So let's go ahead and chop this down, and we'll just bring the blocks with us for now. As you can see, I'm chopping the very bottom block of the tree. In the other block game, and maybe perhaps additional block games, you would typically chop each block individually. In Vintage Story, you chop the bottom of the tree, and the rest of the tree will go with it, provided that your axe has enough durability to do so. It did almost kill our entire axe. There we now have probably too much wood for this early in the game, and a pine seed. So we can now start our own pine forest, if we so choose. Now I think what I'm going to do is, because, as you can see, we don't have much inventory space here, I'm going to leave these 5. We don't need this much wood in the early game, but it would be nice to have. And we need to be able to pick up the stuff to make our future inventory. We have here some lead ore. I'm going to mark this. I do have a mod on for marking things automatically when you see them. However, I don't think I configured it yet in this world, so we'll have to do that in a little bit here. There are some other things you'll see. You have in the upper right-hand corner, you have the mini-map, if you have that turned on, for your world, and you have some coordinates and your heading. So we're headed east and north now, and it'll show you your current coordinates. So if you're sharing a world with friends and you want someone to come to your location, you can give them information on where to look for you. Now we are heading this way, one, because I have planned to stop up over here as far as our final home will be, but also because we need to go toward water in order to find some certain resources. I'm going to just mark this as well. We don't need lead right now, so we're not going to pick it up. And here we have a very tiny example of something that we really need. It is this cattail reed. We're going to take our knife and we're going to cut the cattail reed, because if you break them by hand, they actually will break the entire plant. So if I just use a stone, you will get the reed, but the plant may break. And there it is now gone. These are a finite resource, so you do not want to be wasting them if at all possible. So what you can do, though, is you can pick these up and relocate them if you have a knife or shovel. I'm going to place this pine seed. We don't really need that either. Let's go ahead and we're going to grab these guys with a shovel, just to show you that you can do that. Oh, they broke. Oh, there we go. We did get it. Cattail root. So now if we want to, we can replace this somewhere else. Now, for now, because our inventory is so tiny, I'm going to leave these here, and we'll have to come back for them in hopefully the near future when we have some more inventory space. Now, this goat here might get a little antsy with us around. Yeah, he's walking away. That's fine. Some animals are relatively docile, some are not. We have here, as I've just noticed coming down the hill, we have a berry bush with berries on it. Berry bushes are going to be a very common food in the early game, a food source. You can harvest them just by right-clicking on them, and you can eat them by right-clicking, and you will spew berry crumbs everywhere as you eat. As you can see, one harvest of one bush doesn't feed us a whole lot, but it's something. Now, if you are a veteran player, you might be thinking, oh, I'll just grab one of these bushes and bring it with us. Well, there you might run into a problem because they just turn into plant debris, which will then rot, and that's all you can use it for. So don't do that. If you want to take a cutting, you can. Go into crouch and right-click with a knife, and you will get a cutting, but each berry bush can only provide one cutting per year. But again, our inventory is too small to do that, so we can't. Goodbye, goat. Here we go, we have some more cattails. We're going to get as many of these as possible. I generally recommend getting 64, a full stack to begin with, if you can. We probably won't, I don't see a ton here. But we're going to be using this to build our first expansion to our inventory, so we have more than just these 10 slots to work with. And you'll see I'm also avoiding picking up the other reeds here. These are called tulle. They're just a kind of like grass that you can use to make thatch. The only ones you can use to make baskets out of are the Cooper's reeds or cattails here, or if you're in the south, you can use papyrus. So while I'm doing this and gathering all these cattails, it's probably a good time to take a moment and talk about what the guide series is and what it is not. The guide series, if you're new to the channel, is meant to be sort of a tutorialized Let's Play. I'm going to try in most episodes to have some kind of lesson involved, whether it be a new game mechanic that we haven't experienced before, or a new type of item we can acquire, or a new type of building material. I also like to mix in a lot of building. I'm a builder first and foremost, so you can expect to see a lot of building in this series, and hopefully you'll enjoy what we come up with. I also like to use the building as a bit of a tutorial as well, just to help newer players who want to dial in a style for their designs for their home. This guide is not meant to be comprehensive, but I will be as complete as I can given the various situations that we find ourselves in and the resources we have, and so on. For example, I may or may not end up going to the far, far north, the Arctic, to show polar bears and Arctic hares. I don't really find there's a huge point to that, because we have bears in plenty here. They need to go searching for them. Now, in the very early game, you're going to find that it gets dark a lot faster than you expect it would, even though the game days are about 48 minutes long. It is spring. We'll have about 24 minutes of both daytime and nighttime. As you can see, it is starting to get toward nighttime. So we will soon need to get a move on here. Just saw a creature over there. That's goats, okay. Goats are fine. What do we have here? A blackcurrant bush. It is struggling. It has a negative trait to it. We're going to leave it alone. There's much we can do with that at the moment. Ah, here we go. We have mushrooms. Red wine caps. I know these. That's important. Both in real life and in Vintage Story, knowing what you're eating is very vital, especially with mushrooms, because just like in real life, there are plenty of mushrooms that would love to see you dead, and some that will take you on a very fine vacation, so to speak. Red wine caps, however, I know because I am growing them in my very own garden in real life. If you don't know if a particular mushroom is safe to eat, if you hover your mouse over it in your inventory or in the hotbar, a little tooltip will display. Note that while poisonous mushrooms will tell you how much they're going to hurt you, psychedelic mushrooms have no such scruples. You'll have to just get familiar with them on your own. And I also see over here some other mushrooms. These are field mushrooms. Okay. Let's go ahead and eat these 8 red wine caps real quick and make room for the field mushrooms, because we're going to need to bring some food with us to the house that we finally are going to. And let's make sure we bring these with us so that we can have something to eat tonight while we are cowering in our little house. You'll find that in the very early game, Vintage Story is somewhat merciful. Most food sources are plentiful, as long as you're in a reasonably fertile area. And it does take time for certain animals to spawn. There are some hostile animals in the game, namely wolves and bears. And wolves give you a 4-hour grace time before they spawn, and bears give you 1 day. Now, we have almost a full stack here. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make our first inventory expansion. We're going to take our cattails. We're going to, in the upper 6 slots here, we're going to left-click and drag so that we evenly split our cattails in these 5 slots here. And we're going to pull out 4 of these hand baskets. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they go down here in the lower right-hand section of your hotbar. And we're not going to make any more because we can't store any more baskets when they have 4 slots. And now, as you can see, each one has added 3 slots to our inventory. We can now collect more things. Now, it might at some point make sense to go back and collect some things we left, but for now, we're going to focus on food because we are a very hungry boy. It's a white currant bush. Had some white currants on it for us. I see something else over here. Oh, it's just dust. Never mind. I'm going to grab a few more of the cattails. We only need a couple. I want to grab 8 more of these. The reason for the 8 is that we want to have a little bit of storage for leaving things around our house. 24, okay. We're going to use these and make a big old square with a hole in the middle. Make 1 reed chest. And that comes with us. I think we have everything that we need to for the immediate future. We're going to head over to where I would like to settle down. And I think you'll agree, it's quite the fine area. I can see in the distance over here, we have some berry bushes. They stand out quite starkly. And over here, I spy, I think, some more red wine caps, and I think that's some flax. I have a mod on called Zoom Button Reborn. With Z, we can zoom in, and yes, indeed, we have flax and red wine caps. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick up these guys and bring them with us. And as far as wild crops go, some folks like to leave them to grow if they aren't mature. However, they grow extremely slowly, so I don't actually recommend it. Mushrooms are not the same. Mushrooms will continue to respawn in the area that you find them. Ooh, it's dangerous. Stay out of there, I guess. Mushrooms will keep respawning in the area that you find them initially. It's just that a knife makes them a little bit faster to harvest. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to run here a little bit because we are getting a little behind here. We might end up having to spend our first night in a dirt hovel here. But we are getting somewhat close to where I want to settle down. I do see some more mushrooms over here. Oh, and there goes our knife. Let's really quickly make a fresh knife. There we go. New knife blade. New knife. Here we go. I'm also going to start cutting some grass. 1, because we need grass for making a bed later for sleeping through the night. And 2, because we need grass to start fires and to make torches. So I'm going to gather maybe 30 or so grass with the knife. And you have to use a knife to cut the grass. You'll see that once you cut the grass, it turns very short. And if you cut the grass again, you will break the grass and it will go away. But you will not get any more grass. So only cut the grass once unless you want to get rid of it. Then you can cut it twice. Okay, grass acquired. Let's get a move on here. So I want to come down here. We're going to cross over here, run behind these woods here. And yes, I am running, as I mentioned. You'll see that our gear here is spinning to the left. That means that this is an area of low temporal stability. What that means is that it's safe enough to pass through, but we wouldn't want to set down roots here. Because if your temporal stability drops too much, you'll start to go a little crazy. And if it drops even farther, you might... Oh my goodness, that's a pig! Run. If you see hogs, just run. In the early game. Hogs are not good to find in the early game unless you are ready for them, which we are not. And this guy really hates us, apparently. Is he still following us? I hope not. I think we're okay. We could nerd pole up if we needed to. Oh, and we have some puffballs here. Perfect. We have a food source right nearby. This is excellent. And I dare say we are here. This is the area where I want to set down roots. As you can see, our gear is spinning to the right, meaning that it is recovering our stability. And for now, I think it's time for us to kind of dig into the ground, dig a little hole, because at nighttime is when the creepy things come out. Let's have a quick bite to eat just to clear our hotbar. And we're going to grab our shovel here. While you can pick up things like soil with your bare hands, a shovel is going to be faster. We're just going to dig us a little flatter piece of land here. Hope that boar doesn't come creeping up on us. And we're going to use this dirt to make our very first hovel. Dirt castle living for the win. Something else you might consider doing is not just digging out dirt from the surface, but also possibly digging down a little bit. It's a good way to sort of create your own first bit of walls, while also at the same time gathering up the materials you need to build the house. We're just going to do a really quick, 4x5 I think, or 5x5 little box here. And it's getting very dark now. Soon it'll be too dark to see. Let's fix that now that our shovel's broken. We're going to make a fire starter by putting 2 sticks like this and a piece of wood right there. Fire starter. We're going to make a couple torches, just like, I don't know, 3. There we go. I'm going to place down a torch. It is not lit. And we're going to crouch and right-click with the fire starter until we see flame. And more importantly, light. We now have a torch. Let's get back to it. We're going to turn our dirt first into packed dirt, and from there into rammed earth by putting them in the crafting grid like this in a 2x3 arrangement. We're going to do it very quickly. Start putting some dirt up. Just as a very basic wall to keep bad enemies out. There are enemies who can crawl over walls, and for that reason we're going to need a ceiling before things get too crazy in here. I'm going to do a ceiling about this height. Need more dirt. So therefore it is shovel time. Let's go ahead and make a new shovel. And let's continue digging out our little dirt hovel here. This is the hovel shovel. As you can see, the game seems to be somewhat merciful. We have a little bit more light than I expected us to have. Let's go ahead and let's turn this into more packed dirt, and from there into more rammed earth. Just a stylistic choice, no real purpose behind that. Unless you're playing with dirt gravity on, in which case, yeah, you're going to want to have packed dirt or rammed earth. So, we now have a little hovel. I'm leaving this hole in the ceiling just so we can see what time of day it is. I don't think we should have anything coming through there. Or is there a block right here? There is. That means that things could crawl up there. We'll go ahead and just block it off. And there we have our first dirt hovel. We can also spend some time here building a fire. Let's go ahead and take some more grass. We're going to put this down here. And we're going to take some of this wood and we're going to put it in our crafting grid with an axe. We're going to pull out some firewood. And once you have your firewood, you can crouch and right-click for logs onto your fire, and you now have a fire pit. You can light it either with the fire starter or with a torch. We already have the fire starters. Let's go ahead and just do that. And there we go. We have a fire. A fire is a bit brighter than a torch, though not by much. And if we were lucky enough to have any meat, like say from that boar back there, then we could potentially cook it on the fire by placing it in this slot. We are sadly not so lucky. We only have some mushrooms and some red currant berries, which I think is a fine enough start to a dinner, but they don't require any cooking. Now, I can immediately think of a few improvements to our little hovel here. One is we need a door for getting in and out. I think I want the door to be on the south side. Yeah, sure, let's do the south side. So we're going to do a little bit of a staircase right here. And we're going to make a door. We'll make a few doors, and I'll show you why we're going to use a certain type of door over others. Although we're kind of short on sticks. Now, the thing is, I don't really recall how to make this door, so I'm going to refer to the handy-dandy notebook, or handbook in this case. You can press H by default, and it'll bring up a searchable handbook that contains a list of various game mechanics and guides, and also information about pretty much every item that you can possibly acquire in survival mode. From butterflies to various block types, hellhammers, minerals, more minerals, tools, clothing, termite mounds. Yep, that's a thing. Coral, and so on. And we're looking for a door. But it's a real big list to search, and while I could search for door, we're going to get a lot of different results here. I don't really know which one I might be able to make. Can I make this sleek door? No, I can't. There's no recipe listed here. So instead, I'm going to open my inventory again. I'm going to hover over an item, and then I'll press H. And that will bring up the item that you're looking at right away, as well as a list of all the things that you can use the block for. And right here, we have a crude door. And it requires an axe, 3 sticks, and 2 logs of any type. So, let's go ahead and make that. So we have 3 sticks, we have our axe, and we have 2 logs. We made our very first door. I'm going to show you why I won't be using it anytime soon. Is that we place it down, it looks fine, but when we go to open and close it, there we go, 10% chance every time you open or close it that it will just break, including the first time you open it. So I don't recommend these doors, because if you are running away from a boar or a wolf and you run inside your house and close the door and it does that, well, you're dead. You're just toast. Bye. So this door is going to be used for fuel at some point, most likely. But what we can do instead is we can make gates. Now, we only have 3 sticks, so we're going to make a single wattle gate here. And normally I'd like to make a few more. But we're going to go ahead, we're going to dig this bottom block out here. We're going to plop this gate in, and we'll dig this top block out. Now the gate itself, let's also open this and put a block there. There we go. Now the gate itself is technically more than 1 block tall. Animals and things cannot cross it, but if there's an enemy that can shoot you, then they can shoot over the gate to hit you. And there are enemies who can shoot you. So this is a pretty safe gate right here, because from down here, things need to be pretty close to hit us, and they might end up hitting themselves anyway. So we're okay for now, but I would like to get some more. And I don't hear anything dangerous right now. So we're going to light a new torch here by holding right-click on our lit torch with the 2 unlit torches. And we're going to go outside and look for some sticks. Now, sticks are much faster to acquire with an axe. So I'm going to go ahead and make a second axe, because our first one's going to break. And Vintage Story does have a feature whereby if your tool breaks and you have a matching tool in your inventory, it will automatically switch to that tool. I just realized we don't have any sticks to make the axe with. Let's go out and let's take a look. I have this torch in my offhand. It is going to drain our food faster than if I had it in the main hand, but it will let us see while we're working here. And while we're out here, I'm keeping my ears open for the sounds of any kind of animals or any weird otherworldly groans. The current rift activity is low, which means that there's a low chance of spawning rifts nearby. They will always spawn near the player, or in a reasonable distance from the player. So they will follow you wherever you go, basically. And again, I'm focusing on these branchy leaves because they're the only ones that have sticks. The other ones can rarely have sticks, but it's like a 5% chance. Oh, we got a little helicopter. But I don't have room for it. Let's go ahead and we're going to eat nothing. Actually, I'll just stack these torches. Here we go. So we got a seed, which is pretty nice. A field mushroom. Don't mind if I do. We have room for that. Room for these guys too. The early parts of the game are also going to be limited in how much rift activity they provide. You will generally have only low or calm activity, and calm means that nothing at all will spawn unless it's below ground. Just getting a few more sticks here to build some more fences and things. Oh! Something just hit me. I don't know what it was, though. I'm having stones thrown at me. Let's go ahead and hide in our hidey hole. That's very strange. I would normally have thought I would have heard the drifter out there, but I did not. We're going to go ahead and make a second gate. This way we can now have both a top and a bottom door, and this way things will not be able to attack us in our house. And now that we're safe and sound inside, let's go ahead. We're going to drop our basket here. We'll put a few things in the basket, like this useless door, and the seed, and these flax seeds. And we'll put also the pine logs in there, and this flax, and that vine, and I think we're good. Maybe I'll put the flint in there as well. You want to keep your inventory relatively clear because in the early game, you want to pick up basically everything you can get your grubby little hands on. Now, I'm going to be pretty conservative with our food because, again, we are a very hungry boy, and I want to only eat when our food gets down to about 1 bar just to try to stave off hunger, but not overindulge ourselves. The last thing we're going to do tonight is we're going to make a bed. To do that, you need some dry grass. Put them in your crafting grid in a square like this, and you're going to need to pull out 3 bales of hay. So you need at least 24 pieces of hay. Once you have that done, you can take your hay and put it in a row on the bottom of your crafting grid and pull out a hay bed. You can place it down, and if you are tired and want to go to sleep, then you can sleep in it by right-clicking. You can also get out of bed. I'll show you. You can get in bed like this and your view will slowly darken. You can also crouch to exit your bed if you need to. So if you are being attacked by monsters, or you realize you're hungry, or you left the stove on, you can get out of bed and fix that right away. But folks, that is how you survive your first night of Vintage Story. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the 3rd season of the Guide series, and I hope you're looking forward to all of the shenanigans we're going to get up to in this world. All of the adventuring, all of the probably dying, all of the starving, and all of the building. Now, if you are a seasoned player or a big optimizer, you might be noting right now that I should have maybe made a pan and gotten some sand and some gravel or some bony soil, or maybe some clay to do some clay forming. And normally I would. But your first day and night in Vintage Story are terrifying enough for new players, so I didn't want to rush things and try to get too many things done all at once. So we're going to take things in the early game at a bit of a slower pace than some players might prefer, but we're really going to focus in on all the things you can do, how to survive, and how to thrive in Vintage Story. In our next episode, we're going to take the first steps into solving our hunger crisis, because as a blackguard, we are extra hungry, and as I am a content creator, I'll need to be carrying lights in my offhand, will be extra hungry. Hungry squared. And everything in this game is square. If you want to come and hang out with me and the community more informally, you can check out the Discord link in the video description. The names you see scrolling by on the screen belong to the awesome people who are supporting the channel as a channel member. If you want to be a channel member, you can get access to videos a little bit early, as well as a few other perks and shoutouts in the credits of every recorded video. And the following people have gone the extra mile to support the channel by subscribing at the Seraph tier. Their names are Elizabeth Woolley, ForeverFish14, Inger Raymond, Joshua Saruda, Linda Harris, Oaktree, Servus, Tyluna, and Wade Parker. But for now, as always, My name has been Corazar. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.